Sir, a great pleasure for our college to host you. And on this note, I request our principal sir and members of the management to kindly present a green welcome and honor the speaker for the day. I also welcome Dr. P.K. Bajaj, who has joined us on the dais, General Secretary, TGDST College Managing Society. Yadavji to kindly assist. We are overwhelmed to have a person of his stature for our keynote lecture today. Thank you, sir. On this note, I call upon the dais Dr. Rajesh Sharma, Principal GGDST College.
Most Honorable Professor Ved Prakash, Professor Anuj Joshi, Dr. P.K. Bajaj, my colleagues, and principals and staff of the sister institutions who have joined us from the Google Meet. Dr. S.K. Sharma is also present online. Today, it is a good fortune that we have Professor Ved Prakash with us. He will be deliberating upon the future universities and the changing session of the higher education. Most of us already knew him. He has contributed a lot in the higher education in the capacity of the chairman UGC and a member of different committees in higher education. He has represented education in different parliamentary committees also. There are a few who has given the ideas, and there are a few persons who have created actually the history. He is one of those persons who has actually made a remarkable change in the higher education by holding different positions. Today he will be sharing us with all the staff members regarding the changes in the higher education, how we investigate the future of the higher education. Next 2 days we will be holding a workshop with his help in the area of benchmarking of higher education. Along with him, there will be one more speaker who will be joining us today evening. Hopefully, his presence will be enlightening for all of us. Sir, our college is having NAC A+ in the 4th cycle. Last month, we were awarded A+ with the 3.33 CGPA. We are having college potential excellence status. We are recognized by DST, DBT also. A number of accreditation agencies like NIRF has ranked us in the category of 100 to 150th from the last 5 years. For India Today, Week, Outlook, Open Magazine has ranked the college number 1 in this city, beautiful in the area of commerce, management, IT, sciences, and number 2 in the humanities. At all India level, we are ranked in the between 15 to 25 in all the stream by these magazines. We are having about 8,500 students in this campus with 260 teachers, about 200 non-teaching staff in the campus. Apart from it, our society is running one business school in this campus named after our founder president Pandit Mohanlal ji. We are having one girls' college located in Gurdaspur, another girls' college located in Fatehgarh Churian, one co-ed college, commerce college, we are running in the Banur, adjoining the Chandigarh, and we are also running 2 schools in the Fatehgarh Churian, Chandigarh itself. Hopefully, your presence will be enlightening for all of us. Thank you for accepting our request and blessing us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On this note, I've already given you a very brief CV because it was a very, very lengthy one, and a very brief CV of Professor Ved Prakash ji, and I invite him on the dais. to deliver his talk on future universities.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Respected Professor Anirudh Joshiji, General Secretary of GG BSD College Society, Honorable Professor P.K. Bajaj, General Secretary of the Society, my beloved friend Professor Ajay Sharma, Principal of the college, respected Dr. Madhu Sharma ji, Registrar of the college, members of the faculty of this prestigious institution, ladies and gentlemen, I consider it a matter of great honor and a very special privilege to be with you this afternoon on your campus. I am told that it's not easy to talk to the teachers in the afternoon, and left to the discretion of the speaker should always request to hold the session in the first half of the day. I do not know how come Ajay kept this session and that too at 1 o'clock. Nevertheless, the speaker has an advantage. Regardless of the ears and eyes of the audience, he can always speak on the strength of his ignorance, thinking that the learned audience will pardon him. Some will not even listen to him. They will be having their own sister. So, anyway, this is it. I'm before you now. And I am not going to, I'm in the habit of speaking a lot actually. And my wife always keeps reminding me कि बहुत लंबा बोलते हो आप. But today I hope I would not take more than an hour. And if you find that that is too long a duration, then I can cut it short. What I have done is that I have identified 9 different areas relating to this topic which we have chosen. What would be the future of higher education and what kind of universities would we be expecting in times to come? And I promise to speak about 3 minutes or 4 minutes on each one of them. But before I get into my address, I would like to share with you 4 anecdotes. One is of 1781 when the leaders in the United States of America were putting up their constitution together. A meeting was held in the city of Philadelphia. And people were very anxious to know what is going to happen. And when the meeting came to a close, a tall and a hefty man walked out of the meeting hall, and he was accosted by a lady, and she said, I quote, Benjamin, tell us, have we become a republic? Unquote. Benjamin said, my dear lady, you have become a republic provided you can keep it. She fired another question to Benjamin and said, Benjamin, how can we keep it? And Benjamin said, through education, education and education. The second one, when Otto Bismarck took up as the first Chancellor of Germany, he addressed the nation state, and in his address he said, and I quote, our generals have let us down, but I hope that our teachers will help us build a great Germany. Unquote. Today you know the power of that country in the European Union. And the third one is from the CEO of the Ford company, Iacocca. He was addressing the students during a convocation function. And in his address he said, and I quote, "In a more rational society, most of us would prefer to be the teachers and rest would settle for something else." Unquote. And the last quote, which underlines the value of our profession, is from the 1986 National Policy on Education, wherein we had written, and I quote, "No nation can rise above the level of its teachers." Unquote. I wanted to share these 4 anecdotes with you to highlight the significance of education in general and the value of the profession that you have very rightly chosen. Education, ladies and gentlemen, is a subject that has continued to evolve and extended its reach since the dawn of humanity. And this includes, among other things, like engagement with emerging areas of knowledge. And it is the higher education actually which is extremely critical for the social and economic and technological advancements. It is through higher education that we get critical tools to understand the social dynamics which help us design appropriate interventions to create a civil society. It is again through higher education that develops and promotes the technology which permeates in all dimensions of human development. And it will not be an exaggeration if I say that no human pursuits have ever made any material progress unless it was brought to bear upon the higher education. But it is very unfortunate that the development of higher education widely varies across different economies. If you look at the system of the university education, you would find that the university education system evolves on the 11th century European model of the universities. And that model continued for fairly a long period of time until in late 18th century or early 19th century we created the structures of disciplines in the name of physics and chemistry and geology and botany and history and geography. And when this model was created by Humboldt, Humboldt cautioned the world actually, and he said that science and arts are not two distinct identities. And if we treat them as distinct identities, it would not only be a failure, but it would be disastrous for the society. Unquote. This model has continued for a very long time, and now we have reached a stage when we talk about dissolving the boundaries that we have created across different domains of knowledge. And if you look into the history of the last 10 or 15 years of the Nobel Prize winners, you would find that majority of them are those who are working in the areas of interdisciplinary research. So the future lies there because the new knowledge lies at the intersections of different disciplines. And which is why time and again in all the policy formulations you will find that we need to switch over to interdisciplinary teaching and learning. But before we talk about the future universities, I would also like to reflect in brief about the aims of higher education. The aims of higher education are different from the aims of school education. And it is said that the universities are the most enduring organizations in the history of the world. And civilization depends upon what happens on the campuses of the colleges and the universities. Universities are the meeting grounds for the young minds, and they are the places which are expected to prepare leaders in different areas. Universities and colleges also have the responsibility to remove disparities between what they offer and what the nation needs and what the society needs. Universities must teach wider patriotism, which should have room for diversity. Universities must promote the composite culture of the country. And we must know that universities must develop social temper of democracy, which in turn should build and cement confidence in each other. And above all, universities and colleges need to understand that social and national integration is a precondition for all kinds of progresses. These are the challenges which the university education must address through their various curricular provisions, which should have futuristic orientation. And therefore, future universities will have to focus upon them. Now, what are our expectations from the future universities? Our expectations are that they should churn out children who can respond to the needs of the modern world. We need universities wherein most scientific advancements do take place in different domains of knowledge. We need future universities which can continue to test the limits of their knowledge. Universities must transform themselves into places where academic excellence must be the goal of every single department. And universities must prepare workforce which is needed by the modern world. But people are not happy with the products which are prepared by the universities. And universities are consistently charged. Most of them are charged that they are not graduating themselves from the learning system to the knowledge system. They are teaching the knowledge which is created elsewhere. That knowledge is only transmitted and certified by the colleges and the universities. We are also charged that we are not able to prepare children with generic abilities. We are churning out tongue-tied children who are not having analytical mind, who are not creative, who cannot think critically, and who are not environment conscious. Universities are criticized for not moving towards the creation of a much more immersive, engaging, and student-centric assessment of their potential. Universities are also accused of not integrating values based on universal perception and values based on constitutional imperatives in different domains of knowledge. Most of us who are into the teaching profession, we think that values and ethics can be integrated only in disciplines like humanities and social sciences and languages, and that they cannot be integrated in basic sciences, which is a myth and which is not correct. Universities are accused of not investing their time and resources for creating an inspiring living and learning environment. They are charged for their indifferent and ambivalent attitudes toward issues of contemporary and historical significance. Consequently, universities are under constant stress. We all know that universities and colleges have the dual responsibility to serve the local needs on the one hand and to address the global concerns on the other. But the modern societies are having greater expectations from the university system. They need more research intensive universities, and because they are very, very critical for the future. But the obsession for the national and global accreditation and ranking is stressing the universities and colleges beyond the limits. Universities are stressed to lay greater emphasis on both formative and summative assessment, and that too at the same time. Universities are under tremendous pressure not to raise their internal recoveries in times when the cost of higher education is increasing in leaps and bounds. All these trends have been accompanied by intense pressure on the entire higher education system. And in most of the developing economies, higher education is suffering from 5 different kinds of crises. One is the crisis of identity. Another is the crisis of governance. Third is the crisis of leadership. And fourth is the crisis of resources. But of them, the most pertinent one is the crisis of quality. But basically, all of them are quite critical. And now, but rethinking is required insofar as the quality in education is concerned. If education is all about enlightening the mind of the learner by an enlightened mind, then why the question of quality comes into? How can education be bereft of quality? This is the basic question. But the concept of quality seeps into education when both the stakeholders or one of the stakeholders fails to achieve the educational expectations and educational attainments. And there are 2 major factors related to it. Of them, one relates to the teacher and another relates to the student. When the student is oblivious about her duties and responsibilities, and when the teacher is not able to transect the existing curricular provision in a very effective manner and efficient manner, and when the teacher is not able to relate her teaching with the social and physical conditions where the institution exists and where the children come from, then the concept of quality seeps into education. So the responsibility primarily lies on us as teachers, but it also lies on the students as well. And which is why it is said that one of the basic realities of teaching and learning is that even in the best of the circumstances, you cannot predict the outcome of teaching and learning. This is one of the basic realities actually. I said that rethinking is required in 4 different kinds. Number 1, we take a lot of pride in our minor achievements. If I have got A++, I would say that I'm the best institution in this part of the country. There are institutions which have got 3.65 CGPA, but the public's perception about those institutions is very poor. And therefore, rethinking is required. Number 1, where do we stand today vis-a-vis other institutions? Rethinking is also required to ascertain what is that has worked in the last 3 years or 4 years on our campus and what is that has not worked. Rethinking is also required. Where do we want to reach in 365 days from hence, or 2 years from hence, or 3 years from hence? Rethinking is also required collectively by all of us. What should be the guiding principles when we move forward to realize the goal that we have set for ourselves? This is not the job of an individual. This cannot be done by the head of the institution. This cannot be done by the management of an institution of higher learning. This can be done by the collective wisdom of the entire teaching fraternity. Rethinking is also required about weeding out obsolescence in curricular provisions, switching over to innovative modes of delivery and innovative methods of assessment. How can we mitigate inertia and mediocrity in teaching and learning? How can we recruit a competent, a qualified, and a caring teacher? And how can we retain them when they are noticed by the outside world? This is also a threat. This is what is happening in an institution like yours. How can we make teachers embrace the use of information and communication technology to make teaching and learning more interesting, motivating, and more inspiring? Today we have access to the ICT tools through which we can use simulations and clarify the concepts in much better a way than we used to do it in earlier times. How can we prioritize our research programs to address the local needs, the regional needs, and the global needs? Rethinking is also required about the consequences of the global trends in higher education. You cannot turn a blind eye. We were not figuring in the global ranking for quite some time. And when we started participating, we found that we do not figure anywhere in the first tier or second tier or third tier or fourth tier. And the political executives used to ask this question to us: how come our universities are not figuring in the top 100 or top 200 or top 300? And then we came up with our own ranking system in 2015, which is known as National Institutional Ranking Framework. I think rethinking is also required about this mad race. Do we really need it? Can we compare the educational institutions like the apples and the tomatoes and the oranges? How desirable it is. Rethinking is also required about the emergence of the alternate models of higher education. Now, you often hear about universities without walls. That is a model which is emerging actually. Ajay was sharing with me that one of the foreign companies contacted some people here. They wanted to set up a university and offer program through online mode. Now, we have also granted permission to the universities to offer online programs on 100% basis. I think we have done it too early and on too large a scale without ensuring that they have the necessary wherewithal and infrastructure to offer an online program. It requires a lot of expertise insofar development of e-courseware is concerned. It requires proctored method of assessment and lot many other things. So universities are moving, towards different kinds of systems. Some universities are offering the hybrid program, some are offering the online program on 100% basis. But if you look at the most leading institutions of the world, they have created e-courseware. They have their lectures on the YouTube, but they are not offering the degree through online mode. Some of them are using the online mode to complement their regular programs on their campuses. And therefore, we have to be extremely careful whilst offering the online program on 100% basis. Research universities is one of the major concerns, but the fact remains that if you look at the entire global higher education system, you will find that there are very few research universities. And barring a few of them, most of the research intensive universities are publicly funded research universities. A research university cannot be a national institution of higher learning, it has to be an international institution of higher learning. It has to address the international concerns, the global concerns. Globally, academic systems are more successful when they are diversified with selective research universities, mass across institutions, and vocationally focused schools, often with a mix of public and private institutions. But the modern societies need more and more research intensive universities because they are very crucial to the future of the society. Now comes the question, if you look at 2023 QS ranking of the world institutions of higher learning, you will find that of the top 10 universities, 7 of them come from the United States of America and 3 from the United Kingdom. And if you look at the profile of the top 100 universities, you find that 34 of them are from the United States of America. But if you undertake a very dispassionate analysis of the US top class universities, you would find that their graph is declining in terms of their quality parameters. Now comes the question before us, how these recent trends are forcing universities and what would future universities be like. Recent trends in higher education are forcing universities to make programmatic changes, curricular changes, structural changes, and assessment changes. They are also forcing universities to give a different orientation to their research programs. The modern universities are expecting universities to prepare workforces which can fulfill the needs of the modern world. And I was sharing with Professor Ajay Sharma ji a little while ago that what I have noticed in the United States of America, because I am spending a lot of time there, that the companies, the market forces are not very much enthusiastic about the degrees now. What they are looking for the generic abilities, and they say as long as you do our job, we do not care for degrees, or we do not care where have you graduated from. And the problem with us is that we are not preparing the workforce with the generic abilities. We talk about analytical ability, creativity, critical thinking, problem solving abilities, leadership qualities, but they are not the explicit part of our existing curriculum. We think that they will automatically get generated. They do not. I think we require discourses on our campuses so as to ascertain and so as to find out the ways and means what goes into the making of a critical thinking. And how can we promote critical thinking in each and every domain of knowledge? What goes into the creation of the analytical ability? We need to organize such discourses on our campuses. Universities, future universities will have to work out modalities to help students meet their post-admission financial needs. And why I'm saying that is because people like us who are sitting in this hall, we have already ensured 100% gross enrollment ratio in higher education in our homes and in our families. And And if we have made a commitment through the National Education Policy 2020 that we are going to increase the GER from the present level of 27% to 50% by 2035, we need to know where the children are going to come from. The children would be coming from the marginalized sections of the society. And when the cost of higher education is increasing in leaps and bounds, then these students would require financial assistance. How are we going to provide that kind of financial assistance to the children with a view to realizing the goal that we have set for ourselves by 2035? The future universities will have to restructure their curricula and degree requirement to forge cross-border collaboration. Future universities will have to harness technology as an equalizer between countries. Universities will continually come under pressure to offer more and more market-oriented programs. And what will happen to the humanities and social sciences? If in this mad race of ICT, technology and allied disciplines, we keep on neglecting the humanities and social sciences and languages, we are going to become a very weak nation. And therefore, the future universities will have to strike a balance between the two. Future universities will have to give disciplinary orientation to higher education. Automation and robotization will continue to put another pressure on the future university system. Future universities will have to focus on artificial intelligence. They will have to help industry build alternate mode of lifestyle like system for auto-driven cars. Future universities will have to align their vision with the requirements of this fast-changing world. And we all know that the world is under perpetual transformation, and therefore, under the circumstances, the future universities will have to continually change in the changing landscape of the times. At no time, higher education has been more important than it is today. Most people these days wish to have more than one specialization because of the job market changing at a record speed. No one knows the direction of the coming job revolution. But I would like to share with you that I have got an opportunity to interact with the curriculum group in one of the most elite university of the United States of America. One group is working on a curriculum which according to their thinking would be required in 25 years from hence. And when I was talking to one of the professors there, I said, how come you can predict what would be the shape and size and requirement of the world in 25 years from hence? And his answer was that even if our predictions turn out to be 25% correct, we would be more than contented. We would be very happy. But they are doing that. Now, future universities will have to make such kind of predictions, what would be the kinds of jobs that will be coming, what kind of competencies and skills would be required to respond to those kinds of jobs. To sum up, I would like to say that future universities will have to expand the frontier domains of knowledge and widening the human base to enable the youth to realize their fullest potential. This is going to be the greatest challenge for the future universities. They will have to create the most inspiring learning and living conditions on their campuses. They will have to undertake the most scientific advancements in frontier domains of knowledge. People are going to judge the future universities from three different perspectives. Number one, how far the future universities would be aligning their programs with the market forces. That is going to be the biggest challenge for the future universities. The second one would be, to what extent would the future universities be successful in creating new knowledge in different areas of study keeping with the tradition. And the third would be to what degree future universities would give futuristic orientation to their curricular provisions to keep pace with the changing times. So the future universities are going to be judged by the people from these three different perspectives. They are tough, empirical questions that cannot be answered so easily, and surely not without any evidence-based research. But nevertheless, they are going to be the most pertinent questions which will keep us haunting if we ignore them. The time has come when these long-standing challenges need to be addressed by such approaches that are culturally appropriate, ethically correct, and financially viable. No single approach can possibly be sufficient in as diverse a system as ours. And therefore, the future universities might consider three-dimensional approach according to my limited understanding. This three-dimensional approach would require three competent groups in each area of specialization. And these three groups will have to work in tandem. Of them, the first group should constantly remain in touch with the market forces so as to ascertain what kind of competencies and skills are required by the industry, and accordingly make amendment in the existing curricular provisions so that we can prepare the workforce which is needed by the industry. It will help university prepare an industry-ready workforce which will benefit industry to cut down investment that they have to incur on the job training. So this is going to be a win-win situation for both. But I would like to caution that it should not mean giving universities a complete business or customer orientation, because universities are primarily meant for the advancement of knowledge and not for financial gains. The second group should have a strong commitment to real-life cognitive scientific research program in different areas of study with its implicit philosophical supposition that lead to tangible outcome in the form of new knowledge. Since it is one of the inevitabilities of the higher education, the task of this group is going to be the most difficult task, but it must be accorded top priority because that alone reveals the truth and leads to discovery, invention, and innovation, besides freeing humans from the shackles of ignorance. It basically amounts to consistently testing the limit of the knowledge. And the third group, I was talking to you a little while ago, that group working, the curriculum group which is working in the Stanford University, the third group should give futuristic orientation to the programs of the university. It should constantly design programs which on the one hand create infrastructure and workforce to meet the future requirements of the society, and on the other save humanity from both man-made and natural catastrophes. Such programs should prepare a workforce which can find solutions for future problems like urban transportation, potable water, food security, cyber security, community health, superfast means of communication. This would of course require resource allocation, strategic planning, focused attention, talented and committed faculty, and a good student and faculty ratio. This is what is missing in most of the institutions, and which is why our desire to compete with the best of the world remains a mere mirage under the prevailing circumstances. The changing requirements of the global economy needs a rethinking of the quality of higher education and a policy shift moving from a haphazard policy to a more reasoned one commensurate with the scale of context-specific interventions. Institutions, which mean business, will have to make concerted efforts to build their own brand, because that alone will help build trust between them and the potential consumers. It may not be obvious at first, but brand building can significantly increase their scope. So this is what I wanted to discuss with you. I hope I have not taken 60 minutes. I have finished it earlier than that. But I would like to share some thoughts with you actually. You must have heard the name of Marie Curie. She is the only scientist until this day who has received 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different domains of knowledge. One in chemistry and another in physics. I would earnestly request you to read her biography actually. It will inspire you. And it will tell you that under such trying conditions she became such a great scientist. The country was captured by the Nazis. The institutions were shut down. Her family members were arrested. She had to work as a maid to finance the education of her sister, who was younger to her. And later on, under what conditions she crystallized that pitchblende and discovered radium. And she also worked as a Florence Nightingale during World War I. This lady, when she was receiving the 2nd Nobel Prize, in her acceptance speech, she said, and I quote, "Nothing is to be feared in life. It is only to be understood. And now is the time to learn more so that we can fear less." Unquote. The second one is from a letter written by Akbar to his son Jahangir. He said, "My dear Jahangir, I know you are a very restless man. You want to become a king. But you do not know that a king has to conquer himself first before becoming the king. My dear Jahangir, there are people who are mad in search of knowledge. And those who acquire knowledge, 99% of them do not know that there is also something higher than knowledge, that is what is called as wisdom. And Jahangir, those who acquire wisdom, 99.99% of them do not know that there is also something higher than wisdom, and that is what is known as truth. My dear son, I want you to follow those who are in search of knowledge, emulate those who are in search of wisdom, but be wary of those who claim to have found the truth. Because truth is the ultimate possession of Allah." Unquote. Now I'll give you an example actually, relating to it. That's sometimes how wisdom can be disastrous if it is not leading to the search of truth. What happened, you might have read it, that in earlier days, the car was not started with the key or with the switch button. There used to be a handle. A lady was driving in the New York bridge. She was going from Long Island to the city, and her car stopped. One gentleman came from behind and said, "Madam, can I help you?" And he started starting her car. But what happened was that handle rewind okay, and it hit his jaw. It became a very big news. And some people thought to make a business out of that tragedy. So they approached Peterson. Peterson was a scientist who worked with Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was the director of the Manhattan Project, which was sanctioned by Franklin Roosevelt to make atom bomb. So Peterson was hired for that. And Peterson, what he did was, he was a very outstanding scientist. So he started making different permutations and combinations, playing with different kinds of chemicals. So one day, he found out the solution, and the car could start with the turn of the key. But the chemical was so much foul in smell that when he comes from his lab, his wife would not come near Peterson actually. And so much so that she started sleeping in the garage. So Peterson thought that I have solved the problem, but created a problem at home. So what he did was that he applied his mind and worked very hard and came out with a solution that if the tetraethyl lead is added into the fuel, it will solve both the problems. It will solve the knocking problem of the engine, and it will solve the smell of the smelling problem. They made fortune out of that invention. But by that time, they had committed such a blunder onto the humanity that when the scientists started finding out the reasons for the death and the diseases of the people working in that industry, they found out that this lead was causing havoc, and it has created all kinds of problems. Problems relating to lungs, problems relating to heart, problems relating to arthritis, and problems relating to lowering the intelligence quotient of the people working in that industry. So the wisdom, he used his knowledge, and on the basis of his wisdom, he gave a solution, but that solution turned out to be such a disaster that the world had to come down very heavily and started using lead-free fuel. But by that time, the problem has taken such a magnitude that they tested the surface water from the ocean, they found lead. They tested the water from, they took the sample from 400-meter depth of the deep of the from the sea, and they found lead there also. They started testing the bone density and the quality of the bones of the people, and they found that every second person was suffering from the lead. The lead entered into the bodies of, into the bones of the human beings. And a latest research study shows that if you compare the IQ of the earlier generation with that of the current generation, the IQ level has gone down. And the kinds of problems that we have today and that we are passing on to the coming generations, it is primarily attributed to the insertion of lead in humans actually. So many a time, wisdom can also be very disastrous, which is why Akbar had said that I want you to follow those who are in search of knowledge, emulate those who are in search of wisdom, but be wary of those who claim to have found the truth. Which is he had said philosophically, which is the ultimate possession of Allah, but that is the ultimate possession of nature actually. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to share with you. We have very many challenges, but we need to know one thing, that all the challenges have to be met from the campuses of the institutions of higher learning, and which is why it is said time and again, and I have also said it twice in my address, that we must continue to test the limit of our knowledge to do good to the society. So I stop now. 1 hour questions relating to the National Education Policy 2020 or what all I have said, I will be more than happy to answer to your question. But this is the only advantage the speaker has in the afternoon actually. But I don't want to have that privilege. And if you are not going to ask any question, then I am going to share another thought with you. And this is very practical actually, regardless of the age. जोशी जी भले ही 82 हो, मैं भले ही 75 हूँ, but it is equally applicable to all. So know me? Okay. This is the thought of John Gardner. He said, the things that we need to learn in maturity are not simple things like acquiring information and knowledge from the books. We need to learn not to burn our energy in anxiety. We need to learn how to manage our tensions. We need to learn that self-pity and diffidence are amongst the most toxic of drugs. We need to learn that the world loves talent but rewards character. We need to learn that most of the people in this world are neither for you nor against you. They are busy in themselves. We need to learn that no matter how hard you try to please, some people in this world are not going to love you. A lesson which is very troubling at the first instance, but once you know it, it is very relaxing. Unquote. अब इसके बाद मैं कुछ नहीं बोलूँगा. So thank you very much. Once again, I request you to ask any question, and if you are not going to do that, then I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks and gratitudes to Professor Joshi, to Professor Ajay Sharma ji, to Dr. Madhu Sharma ji, Madhu Sharma ji or Madhu Gupta ji? Madhu Sharma ji, and to all of you for sparing your precious time to be here in the afternoon. Thank you very much. I would want you to deliberate on the issue of quality. And I have said once, and I would like to reiterate, that why the question of quality comes into actually. If education is all about enlightening the mind by an enlightened mind, and if the concept of quality seeps into education, then we should look into our own Graham and see where are we failing, and where our children are failing, and how can we make them overcome their inadequacies, and how can we make up our own inadequacies to bring in laurels to our institution and to do our job in a true professional manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. Anirudh Joshi ji to kindly come on the dais and present a vote of thanks.
have spent about 40 kids teaching in PU. Just 2 years less than that. I've had the chance to listen to at least half a dozen UGC chairmen, but no one was like you, Professor Gridwara. You quoted some anecdote. I am reminded of one. Somebody asked after World War II from Churchill, how did you win the war? And his answer was, Second World War was fought in the schools of Eton and Harrow. These are two famous schools near London. What the teachers taught the students in the classrooms, their character was made like that. You have said so many valuable things. I feel sorry I could not be attached to you earlier. I could not listen to you earlier. You're right. Creation of knowledge should be the domain of the teachers. It's not only dissemination of the knowledge, it's the creation of knowledge. Our ancient texts are full of quotes. Hridaya jnana na mukti. ज्ञान के बिना मुक्ति नहीं होती. We are in bondage, eternal bondage. How do we get out of it? Have the knowledge. Yes, we have to acquire a universal state of knowledge. Not the knowledge that will help us in 22 market or 70 market, or finding a job here or there. No, not. Knowledge that can be used by any human being anywhere on earth. After all, we are using the knowledge created by Western countries. They are using our philosophy. And there can be no compartmentalization of knowledge. I had the chance to listen to Professor Raja Ramanna, chairman of Atomic Energy. He said, physics cannot be studied without spirituality. Only persons who are interested in philosophy and spirituality can study physics. After all, astronomy is nothing about it. It leads to your spirituality. Well, my dear colleagues, I'm too old to teach so. But I'll finish my vote of thanks with one thing, that is, इस दुनिया में उस्ताद हमेशा शागिर्द रहते हैं. They are always learning. They should always learn. तभी वो उस्ताद बन सकते हैं. Mr. Ved Prakash, it has been a pleasure. Your lecture was mesmerizing. According to my university colleagues, I am not a bad speaker, but today I feel I am a bad speaker. The knowledge, what you have acquired throughout your life, throughout your career, you can speak that only on your stage. Your domain of knowledge perhaps is unlimited. I hope you will keep giving your blessings to this institution in future also. Thank you so much.
I think it's a very good day for us because we had two eminent speakers, one with 5 decades of knowledge and one with 4 decades of knowledge, actually giving us knowledge, right? On that note, we end the talk here, and I invite my dear colleagues for a high tea at the Boys Recreation Hall in the Boys Hostel. That will be all.